Hey everybody, welcome, and tonight we are blessed and honored to have Corey Bornmann back to present. And if you've never seen one of Corey's webinars, then his trademark is this rather scary looking thing on your screen right now, which is actually a mind map. And since it relates to the mind and its productivity, you know I didn't invent it, but Corey is going to explain how to start and finish front to back everything you wanted to know about how to run your niche marketing campaigns. Absolutely complete. Everything right, Corey? But no startup capital. You're not going to have a contest where we can win a free.
No, we're not going to talk about startup capital.
Oh, okay. I was kind of hoping maybe it's you'd give us a market where we could all go home and retire and get the hell out of this heat.
Sure. Well, that's Chris's job. On the line, we also have Chris Rempel from The Lazy Marketer.
Oh, well, we need that in this heat. Welcome to the show tonight, Chris. And you guys, I'm going to shut up and go back to sucking on something icy cold, and I'll talk to you a little later. And thanks so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Great. Thanks, Rick. All right, guys. Well, tonight we're talking about niche websites, and luckily we have Chris with us, who is really the man when it comes to building niche websites. I've got a lot of experience with this, but standing next to Chris, he's got way more. So what we're going to start off now is we're going to talk about the initial concept and how I like to grab my initial concepts for finding niches, and then we'll ask Chris to chime in there a little bit. So the idea here is that we're going to be prospecting for a new popular niche to enter, or a classic niche, whatever. But we're digging. Okay. One of the places that I like to go for this is the YouTube Trends dashboard. Now, if you guys have never seen this, which a lot of marketers haven't, it's just youtube.com/trends. Dashboard, and what you can do here is you can filter this by country, ages, and sex. Okay, so what I did was earlier I came in here and I was looking for interesting trends to present tonight, and what I did was I did a search across the different age groups. So I hit 18 to 24 years male, 35 to 40-year-old male, and 35 to 44-year-old male. And as I looked down this list, one thing kind of jumped out at me immediately, that across all three demographics, we had the Halo 4, I guess it's like a preview. I didn't go watch the video because I was preparing for the webinar, but I noticed that this one was in all four of those. So I thought that was, or all three, I thought that was pretty interesting. So what I did was I took a note on that, and I used that. Whoa. Hold on here. Let's get that back. Okay. So what I did was I noted that, and what I do is open up a Word doc or text document or something like that and start taking notes immediately. Another place that I like to go is the Amazon bestsellers list, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen this one. This is the bestsellers list, and what you can do is go down here, really across any of the categories that they have in Amazon, and you can go through that and check out interesting products as a starting point.
That's crazy. I have the same underwear as that guy, actually.
Do you wear it with the cool shades too?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It was the upsell.
Yeah, right. Chris, what do you like to do when you're looking initially for your initial concepts with niche websites?
I'm a little backwards, but and I don't know. I guess it's arguable that this is maybe a little bit after the fact, but what I honestly do is I just look at who is buying links. And who is aggressively marketing the hell out of their sites. And the best way to do that, and this is sort of, I don't know, I haven't talked about this too much. I have on some of our AfriCon webinars, but seriously, when you start buying links on places like some of the shadier blog networks and that kind of stuff on the webmaster forums, you get a sense for what people are advertising, and you get a sense for what people are pushing. And typically, people aren't going to go and buy like PR6 or PR7 links to sites that they aren't very serious about and that they don't generally know for a fact are going to convert very well and do very well for them. And so, that's where you run into stuff like you'll see the college recruiting offers and payday loans and that kind of stuff. There's these recurring niches that are just, like crack cocaine to marketers because there's so much money in them. And you can really dig into that. It's not a refined process, and it's by no means, like a central sort of resource, by any means. But what you can do is you can kind of, you can pretend to be Google and find these blog nets, and you can use backlink discovery tools like ahrefs.com or majesticseo.com and so on. Look up sites that are ranking for, pretty popular keywords in the main markets like weight loss and that kind of stuff. Look for obvious affiliates. They've most likely bought themselves there or bought themselves their rankings. And then take a look at where their backlinks are. Typically, it's going to be a bunch of useless blogs, but it's not useless to you, because what you can do is go through and peruse those horrible spun articles, but find out where those links are pointing to, and you'll have a plethora of niches that at the very least are worth someone's money and time promoting. And then you can go from there, you can drill into it, you can start looking at those kinds of keyword profiles. And I think it's just a very solid way to find out what's already working for people. That's not necessarily how you spot emerging trends, and you won't be on the tip of the spear. But as for what's working, typically it's pretty cut and dry. Maybe that's a little, I don't know, Corey, do you think I should clarify sort of how you go about that, or?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. That's a really interesting concept that I know that we haven't talked about on these webinars. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, it was easier back in the day when larger networks like Build My Rank and so on were around, before they got de-indexed systematically. But at the same time, there's still a number of different places where you can find out where people are buying backlinks. And one of those places, it's maybe one of the more notorious ones, is actually just on your own blog. If you have a WordPress blog, or if you have, if you just, if you frequent a number of blogs throughout the month, and especially if you find one that's sort of been overrun with spam comments, if you have trouble finding them, just contact me. I'll send you a list of like 500,000. So there's what you can do at that point. You can see what people are using or what they're posting in their comment spam, and that's not necessarily going to be as definitive as the other method I talked about, but it's a good start. And along with the obvious pharmaceutical keywords and casino links and that kind of stuff, you are going to run into genuinely interesting niches, and maybe stuff that you haven't thought of as you go through the comment spam. Because a lot of that stuff is just ex-rumor blasts or scrape box blasts, more likely,
Right.
where people are either, they're pushing a second tier, or they're maybe stupidly pushing their money site, or maybe they're smartly pushing their competitors' sites, for negative SEO purposes. But regardless, there are definitely some gems in the dirt if you take a look at around. So that's kind of where you start. But trust me, once you get into the link buying scene, or the link renting scene, or whatever you want to call it, there's just no end of networks out there that you can peruse and that you can discover, and that you can basically, all you do is you find one guy that's bought links somewhere and look up his profile on ahrefs.com or whatever, and guaranteed he's going to have like 300 other places linking to him, and there you go. You know, you can kind of act like a search engine spider and go from there. It's a great way to discover new stuff, for sure.
That's great. That's let me try to get my mind map here again. I think I'm sucking up too much memory with this sucker. Unbelievable.
Freezing up?
Okay. Yeah, of course. So research. I had some cool things with research here, but one of the techniques, and that's something that you and I talked about, Chris, and maybe you could expand on this, is using Google Trends. Instead of going to the keyword tool to try to figure out the keywords and, you know, get their kind of estimated or whatever information that Google is willing to give you, when you go to Google Trends, what you can do is you can start with a baseline niche, okay, and you can compare your whatever new niches that you want to promote with your baseline. So if you know what your baseline traffic is for, say, Chris, I think your example a lot of times is people search.
Yeah, so like, you know, background checks specifically. So
background checks,
you know,
yeah.
I know the market well, and I was in it for quite a while, and I sold off most of my stuff in that market. But anyway, I knew kind of exactly what the keyword. Let me rephrase this. I knew what to expect for keyword impressions, so how many people were searching for the keyword every day, and I also knew what that turned into if you were either the number 1 spot, number 2 spot, number 3 spot, number 4 spot, etc. Because I had occupied, you know, as rankings happen, you sort of shift around and blah blah blah. So,
sure.
You know, I was very in touch with what that turned into with traffic. So, and anyone else can do this as well. It's not like I have some special knowledge. Anyone that's ever ranked for a keyword that sends some decent degree of traffic can definitely do this. And so, let's say you have, you're typing in electronic cigarette, perfect.
Yeah.
You know,
is it people search or background checks?
Just put in background check, no, just singular, yeah, not plural.
Okay.
So let's compare these two incredibly aggressive niches. So you can see background check still dwarfs eSig traffic in terms of what's there. Profitability-wise, I don't know. I mean, I've heard some pretty amazing things about the eSig market, but that paints the picture pretty well.
Sure. What kind of traffic are you usually seeing with the background checks?
Well, my site was peculiar. I mean, it was generally, at the height of it, it was doing about 6,000 to 7,000 unique visitors a day. And that was primarily actually from the keyword free background check, but also instant background checks, criminal checks, background checks as well, just like itself, background checks. So it was kind of a full gamut, and it was generally in the top 4 spots for all the major keywords. And so Google's, I think, Adwords tool estimates a background check. I think they say it's like 70,500 or so.
Okay.
And I think SEMrush has a similar figure, and so that's actually pretty low compared to what you sort of get across the gamut. But anyway, what it looks like to me, if I'm just going to look at your trends list there and kind of estimate, it looks like if you ranked for electronic cigarettes, you could probably expect a couple hundred visitors a day.
Okay.
And so, you know, trends is interesting that way because now we know that.
Sure. I found an interesting one here today when I was doing this. I go back to the Halo 4 searches. You check this out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we'll do just for 2012.
Nice.
Yeah, that's some serious traffic there.
Oh, that's crazy. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
You know what has crazy traffic? I just on a real quick bunny trail here.
Sure.
If you ever wonder why some of the major like consumer sites like consumersearch.com and stuff, they always seem to feature like the lamest products. It's always like, you know, new toasters and like blenders and stuff. Man, those things have so much freaking traffic. It's crazy. It's just it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's a quick little aside.
Yeah. So this is the key. This is really how we like to do our research. Obviously, you know, a lot of people go to the Google AdWords keyword tool, which is fine. You know, that can give you, as long as you don't take that as, you know, the gospel truth as to what your traffic numbers are going to be.
One thing I'm going to jump in here and say is that actually, since we did that webinar where we talked about trends a little while back, there's actually a really big asset now that we have as webmasters. That's a new thing. Corey, I'm sure you've heard this, but Bing in their webmaster tools released actual like to the visitor data on their traffic levels for whatever keyword. So on their number of queries, whatever query volume for any keyword that they've tracked. And so
Really?
I've been, oh yeah, it's crazy. You have to register a site, at least one domain with Bing Webmaster Tools. But when you do that and you log in and you're searching for, say, Halo 4, it won't tell you an estimate and it won't show you like kind of a vague number. It'll say, oh, you want to know how many people search for Halo 4 between like July 1st and July 15th? Okay, 186,729. And it like seriously, it'll be to the visitor. And so kind of my thoughts on it are that, yeah, they're different search engines and, you know, the Bing user base is a little bit different. Typically, they're a little bit older. But I think you can basically just sort of times it by maybe 4 or 5 to arrive at what you can sort of expect from Google.
Okay. Yeah. So 4 to 5, multiply it by 4, and that's what that's probably your Google volume. I gotcha.
I'd say that's conservative, but yeah, about 4 or 5.
Okay. Have you ever tried the YouTube keyword tool?
I haven't. No, actually, I've never messed around with it. I never have.
Yeah, that's another one that I like to check out as well. They'll give you some rough search volumes with this. Let me get here's again back to the Halo. It'll say what the monthly search volume on YouTube was for specific keywords, and then you can then add them to like your keyword basket here, kind of like the Google AdWords keyword tool does, and then you can download it in text, CSV, whatever. The good thing about this is if you're starting to incorporate video on your website, which I highly recommend. I love creating review type videos. They're easy to make, they're cheap, and they're super highly effective. And sometimes a lot easier to rank than a full-on website as well. So you like
they are
too, Chris?
Oh, dude. Not only for the traffic benefit and the additional traffic from YouTube, not to mention the fact that Google unfairly biases their own properties, including YouTube, but if you put, this is how crazy it is. This is the extent of their bias. If you embed a YouTube video on your page, on any page of your website, you will receive preference in the SERPs, and you will rank that page literally 3 or 4 times more easily than if it did not contain Google content.
Amazing, just amazing.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you'll get in a Matt Cuts video.
No. There's no nice smiling, little Matt saying, "It's user experience, guys." That's the reality. If you rank or if you embed Google shit on your sites, it's going to rank that much more powerfully.
Sure. All right. So moving along here, one other thing that we like to do is obviously do some competition research. And the way we like to do that is really just a simple Google search, product name plus reviews. It typically returns affiliate-driven results. So if you were to look up, let's do e-cigs here. Okay. So you can see here that there's a lot of reviews when it comes to e-cigarettes, which is telling you that there's a lot of affiliates in that space, and that it is a competitive space, but it also means that there's a heck of a lot of money in there.
Yeah, no one's doing this for fun.
No. Let's see. Review. There we go. That's what I meant to do.
One thing that came up there that I want to point out, when you search for what you just saw, like e-cig review or whatever, what came up as a suggestion was 2012. I think a lot of internet users are kind of, if you hit spacebar or whatever,
yeah.
A lot of users are sort of fed up with old content and that kind of stuff, and I think to a large extent because Google kind of sucks when it comes to displaying, what's actually relevant and good. People are putting in the date, like 2012, to see what's actually current, and so you can leverage this to a large degree, and these guys already have, as you can see. But put 2012 or whatever, 2013, next year in your title tags, and watch what happens. It's not as much traffic, but you'll get a much easier stream of traffic flowing to you for these very targeted keywords.
Just writing that down, man. Every time we get on these things, I'm always scribbling little notes as to what you're saying here. You can see here, let's see, six results down. We got a guy that's doing, again, just what you were saying, 2012 rated Apollo cigarette, electronic cigarette review. Okay, this guy's not even, he didn't build a website or anything to get that number 6 ranking. And there he is at number 6 on the front page for e-cigs.
Yeah, nice.
Let's see what he has going on here. So I guess this is either his affiliate ID or something like that for these guys.
Looks like it.
Yep, it sure does. So he's got number 6. You think he's making some money?
He's making some money.
Heck yeah, with that kind of traffic for sure. All right. So let's see here. For I did the same thing for Halo reviews and got a whole bunch of stuff with Halo reviews. Again, with 44 million results, we've got 3 videos sitting in number 3. Okay. So again, that's telling you how awesome this really is. I wonder if that's a good one with 2012 behind it. Halo 4.
Yep.
See, I don't know what Halo E3 is.
I think E3 is some sort of like gaming convention or something like that. It's kind of a, yeah.
Sure.
For a specific product like that, I'm not sure if the 2012 factor will be as effective because the product version is going to dictate the age.
Yeah.
But yeah, but either way, I mean, obviously there's still people searching for it. So.
Right. All right. So of course I added the Bing Webmaster Tools in there. That's something we're definitely going to want to remember.
It's insane. It's so refreshing to actually have real data. It's awesome. Everyone should go and sign up for it right now. Seriously, yeah. I mean, or whatever after the webinar and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I'm wondering how long it's going to take for services like SEMrush to incorporate those results inside of their tools as part of like their own algorithm, if they're not already.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what they offer for an API. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about getting traffic, because once you have your website built, your research done, your website built, it's time to get some traffic. And Chris, I know that you're very good at this. the thing that I like to do again is going back to the freestyle videos. Videos definitely seem to rank easier than full websites, especially now post penguin, panda, or whatever other animals they're going to throw into the mix.
Let's talk about some ranking factors for videos real quick. Want to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to share what you do, or first, and then I'll?
You can go first. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was curious about this, and I was wondering if, is it links that affects it? Is it like user experience, signals? Is it just view count? And so I ran a couple tests on about 20 different videos or so, and it's pretty definitive. And I'm talking YouTube. I don't know about Vimeo and the other sites. I haven't tested them, but with YouTube anyway, links and the experience or I guess signals coming from users that watch them all the way through. And so what you want to do, and there's services for this. You can go on Wikidfire or whatever and find tons of services that do this. You want to find a service where people go and watch your videos from start to finish, from obviously a unique IP address, a unique YouTube account, and then they vote it up. And additionally, what you want to do is you want to build a shit ton of links to each video. You can use wiki links, you can use pretty much whatever, and that will have a significant effect on your rankings, both in YouTube itself and, more importantly, in the SERPs. Gotcha.
I know before all these changes started coming down a couple of months ago, I was using SENuke X and creating like a two-tier link slamming, like we've been talking about the last year or so, and I found that that was pretty effective in getting my videos a lot of attention, and so I haven't done a whole lot in terms of that right now. I've been programming a lot lately, but at that point I was finding that the two-tier linking was doing a good job.
Yeah, it definitely does. Maybe what I'll do is there's two resources for two-tier linking. I use two different services. I use the Hoth.com. That's THEHOTH.com, just so people can have that as a reference. And I also use SEOlutions. I think it's .com. I'm going to double check that right now in my browser just so I have the right. No, it's actually .biz. I'm glad I checked.
So it's SEO what?
SEOlutions.biz, so SEOLUTIONS.biz. And if you go to their Simple Solutions offer, then they actually build 400 Web 2.0 kind of frontline Tier 1 properties, and they slam them with 20,000 wiki links and 75,000 blog comments. And that will pretty much bring up whatever you want.
Gotcha. So are you finding that link building is still working out for you?
Oh, big time.
Yeah. I figured so am I. I guess it was kind of a loaded question.
That's fine. Real quick, it's the Hoth. So it's probably not coming through on my microphone, but it's HOTH.com.
Okay, HO. The Hoth. Gotcha. Not the Hoff, like the actor.
Oh, that'd be even better.
Yeah, I know. I have a feeling he probably has it. Yeah.
I would call it the half if it was my service.
Yeah, that's true. No doubt.
But yeah, no, link building unquestionably is still king of the show. I mean, anyone that tells you otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about.
Definitely. And earlier today, Chris and I were talking about exact match domains. Now, I know EMDs are not new, and I think that there's been some people that have been talking negatively about EMDs and how they're finding that their exact match domains were kicked out of the rankings and all that. Well, Chris, you had a different experience lately. You want to share that?
Yeah, my experience was drastically different.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, to back this up, I think a lot of people lost rankings with EMDs, exact match domains, simply because they were using outed blog networks. And so if you were part of like Build My Rank or some of the other big ones, even like Vana, chances are, I mean, you could have had like, MotherTeresa.gov and your site was going to get tanked. So, exact match or not, that's what happened. Those sites got cooked. The reality is, though, is that if you look at the actual SERPs, if you ignore what the morons are saying on like SEO Moz and whatever else, and you actually go and do some Googling, especially in high competition niches, what you'll see is that the only sites that are really ranking right now, in addition to vendors, government sites, Wikipedia, and whatever else, and like news sites, the only sites that are in the runnings are EMDs. And so it's I don't know. You can take that for what it is, but that's the data doesn't lie. So what we've done in our niches, and we are in some very, very competitive niches, we've just exclusively been using like little 2 or 3 page EMD sites, and we've been building a mixture of 2-tier structures, a couple high PR links, just from people that sell them on their purpose-built blogs, and some press releases, and a couple social signals through Synd, SYNND.com. And within actually 2 weeks, we were ranking page 1, top of page 2, fluctuating for insane keywords like instant loans, that kind of stuff. So as for the argument of does exact match domain does it still work? Absolutely, it still works. And in fact, we're being outranked by guys that have like shittier sites with seemingly no links. And my guess is they're probably pushing a whole bunch through 301 redirects. But that's what's happening.
Gotcha. All right. We've got one question here. Steve Hawkins is asking exactly what 2-tier link slamming is.
Okay. Basically, a 2-tier link structure means that instead of building links exclusively to your target website, so let's say your website is golfstuff.com. Instead of building links to golfstuff.com, what you would do instead is you would build, say, 10 mini blogs on, say, Weebly, Squidoo, LiveJournal, whatever, and then you would make a real nice sort of like fancy blog thing or mini website on those free services, and on those websites, or I'll call them Web 2.0 pages, you would link to your actual site. So those mini blogs would link to your actual website, which would be golfstuffs.com. And then what you do is instead of linking to your money site, golfstuff.com, you then blast the ever-living hell out of those 10 mini blogs with kind of what we used to do 3-4 years ago to our money sites. And so that includes, it's as far as you want to take it, but you can use outright spam links like XRumor, Scrapebox blasts, that kind of stuff, or you can sort of do what I do, which is a mix of wiki links. We use even bookmarks. We use other Web 2.0s. We use spun article submissions, all that kind of stuff. So
Gotcha.
That's how she's done.
Yeah, which again isn't a new technique, but
not at all.
It's what's working now, and I like the idea. I like the term 2-tier link slamming better than what's the other thing that was called?
I think there's link shields or
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, I forget what it was called.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so now we've covered traffic. By then, after you get some of this, your linking done, you should start seeing your traffic rolling in. Again, this isn't going to happen overnight, but it definitely will come. As far as maintenance goes, I know that a lot of times what you're going to want to do is continue to add some content over time. If you've got a a vested interest in that particular money site. Or if it's really just if you're in a churn and burn kind of mode where you're just cranking out websites one niche after another, throwing links at them and moving to the next niche. Again, you're prospecting for a place to plant your flag. You're not going to really be doing all that much managed maintenance on top of that until you start to see some results. What kind of stuff are you looking at as far as like continued maintenance after you build a niche site, Chris?
It really depends on the site. If we're talking like a little EMD, exact match domain, basically you just sort of you monitor the rankings using something like microsite masters or whatever. And there's actually, oh shit, what's it called? There's some, I don't use it myself and I really should, but there's some program out there, I forget what it's called, but it sends you like email alerts if you lose rankings, and that really comes in handy when you have like 200 sites.
Sure.
So anyway, there's something like that out there. But basically what you do is when you're tracking your rankings and stuff, with EMDs, with smaller sites, with the pushers and the feeder sites, what you do is you just keep track of basically where they're at, how they're doing. When they start to fade, then you just slap a couple to your link structures or press releases or whatever at the site, and then stay on top of it that way. However, we're going to talk about this more in the next section, but there's really not necessarily that much incentive to do that when you start looking at what you can do by exiting out of these sites at a certain point. And so it depends on the purpose for why you built those sites. However, if we're not talking about an exact match domain, and if we're not talking about a small like affiliate site or review site or whatever, let's say we're talking about an actual authority site. So this is something you've invested a lot of time into and a lot of energy and stuff. Basically, you kind of have to have a steady drip. You have to have a steady drip of links, steady drip of new content, steady drip of activity, yada, yada. In time, you sort of get to the point where all it takes is to put up new content, and then sort of, your audience, if it's a real site and you have like lists, stimulating this thing and all that kind of stuff, then it's really a natural organic process. And that's sort of actually, you don't have to simulate linking at that point. When you have a real property or like a real blog and a real site that people actually, go to, then the whole SEO process is it's really quite straightforward, and it's almost hands-off because those things happen naturally. But, try running more than one of those at a time.
Yeah.
Have fun. So that's kind of the thing. I guess that's the only way to put it. I mean, the maintenance on a larger site, on a real business, more or less takes care of itself because you're never going to be done. You're always going to be running more press releases. You're always going to be running more promotions, more this, that, whatever. As you interact with your customers, you're gonna add real links to your site as well, just by the way that it happens, So
yeah, and getting that social interaction in there. You're probably going to want to incorporate Facebook into the more authority sites that you're going to create. And so it's always there on your mind to continually push that forward.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think kind of with real business, though. I mean, especially if you've got as your customer base sort of builds up. I mean, you almost can't get away from it. Like, it's not about, what should I do on Facebook? It's, oh, look, 800 people are whining about something on Facebook or whatever, right? It's kind of
right.
It's more about management than it is about sort of maintaining.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Sure. All right. So we've created we've created a bunch of niche sites. We have found a couple of them that are worth planting a flag into and really developing out from just being just a niche site and really just a prospecting site to try to find, a solid niche that's going to be profitable.
Right.
It's a year or so down the road, and now it's time to start thinking exit strategy. Whenever we go into a project, together or individually, we're always adding that into the business plan. You always want to start thinking about that exit strategy right up front, okay? Because that can be the ultimate payday. It's nice to get those paydays along the way, whether it be affiliate commissions or subscription income, or one-off type of one-time purchases, that type of thing. But it's really nice. The real prize is when you come to the finish line there, and you have yourself an asset that is valuable. Okay.
Exactly.
The bare minimum, okay, is really a 3 to 4 month history. If you hit a home run with your niche site that you've planted your flag into, and you're driving all kinds of traffic and it's making money, anybody can be a flash in the pan. Anybody can get lucky at first, but then if the traffic dies off over time, your commissions start dwindling. That happens, many times to a lot of people. I mean, it's happened to me, obviously. But if you can put together a site that pulls in a consistent commission at least 3 to 4 months, that's when you can start really, looking at that. And that's really the first chance that you can do. I mean, you don't want to start doing that before 3 to 4 months. Do you think, Chris?
Well, it all depends on the kind of site. I mean, if we're talking a standard affiliate site or AdSense site, then yeah, I mean, you kind of do need 3 to 4 months of history to offload that. And I would think, I'm going to add here that that's when we're just talking about a very simple, straightforward, say like 5 to 10 page site. There isn't that much investment into the site itself. There isn't that much effort expended. It doesn't do anything special. It basically just soaks in traffic, and that's where you have, it makes sense, or it can make sense to sell those off every 3 or 4 months, more realistically 5 or 6, and that's sort of where, that makes sense. If you have a site that actually does something, like if you have like a special calculator or something, like if you developed your own like mortgage calculator or something like that, or if you have members, if you have an active like forum, if you have that kind of stuff, then you start talking about a significant change in approach when it comes to an exit strategy, because then you have a much more substantial asset then. But if we're just talking, a very basic site, then basically, from what I've seen and from what I've done and from the people that do this a lot more than I do, basically you're looking at 8x monthly revenue as a typical. I mean, that's what you can pretty much get for any kind of site, but you can also push that a little bit beyond. I mean, eight's kind of low. A lot of people go for like 10 to 12. I've sold sites for 18 months rev that aren't really anything that special, but they have a longer history of results. It's the reason why we do this is because you can cash out and you can also remove yourself from the liability of maintenance. So instead of having to worry about and manage or micromanage, at some point hundreds of sites, it's better off just selling out of them and putting it back into your business. I would say that you should talk to your accountant and talk to a legal professional, a tax professional in particular, and see if this can be considered a capital gain for you as opposed to just revenue, because then your actual take-home profit on that is substantially larger. Probably that only applies to the sites that you can sort of class as a real asset or a business or whatever, but that makes a big, big difference.
Okay.
I see a question popping up there. Someone saying 8x annual or 8x monthly. Definitely 8x monthly. 8x annual.
Yeah.
if you can pull that off, I'll kiss your feet.
Yeah.
So someone was saying though, I just lost it. Where do we sell these sites? Well, I think the obvious one is Flippa, but that's not always the case. When I have a high value site, like when I have a site that's doing, say, like 6 figures-ish, typically what I'll do is I'll go to, well, actually where I first start is usually with the vendor of whatever product it's promoting or products. So if it's in, say, like the Forex niche or whatever, the first person I'll approach, and I haven't sold any sites in the Forex niche, by the way, but the first person I would approach would be the vendor or my main vendor I was promoting, and basically say, hey, you know what, you know my numbers, you know what I'm capable of, and you've watched the site come up over the last year or whatever. I want to get out of this market. Do you want to buy it? They'll be much more likely to take a look at that seriously because they already know you, they know the site, you know, there's no question as to what it does. And so I've done that in the past where I've sold sites to vendors. But you can also approach other major players in the niche. I mean, everyone will look at it, especially if you've been outranking them for a while. Trust me, then they'll really look at it. So